Officer Mike Harris drove slowly along Highway 27. The evening was quiet, just how he liked it. After 10 years on the job, Mike knew most nights in the small town of Pine Creek were calm. He checked his watch. Only 2 more hours until his shift ended. The radio played soft country music as Mike sipped his coffee. His patrol car moved steadily past farms and small houses. Not many cars were on the road at this hour. Most people in Pine Creek were already home having dinner. Mike thought about his own dinner waiting at home. His wife Sarah had promised to make his favorite chicken pot pie. The thought made him smile as he turned onto River Road, a long stretch that went through the darkest part of the county. As Mike rounded a bend, his headlights caught something ahead. A black van was moving strangely on the road. It went over the center line, then back to its lane, then drifted again. Mike sat up straight and put down his coffee. He watched the van for another minute. The driver was definitely having trouble staying in the right lane. Possible drunk driver on River Road, Mike said into his radio. Black van, license plate hard to see. I'm going to pull it over. Copy that, Officer Harris, came the reply from Jenny, the night dispatcher. Be careful out there. Mike turned on his flashing lights. The van kept going for longer than normal before finally pulling over. This made Mike more alert. Most people stopped right away when they saw police lights. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out of his car. The night was cold, and his breath made small clouds in the air. Mike always followed the same steps when stopping a car. First, he touched the back of the van as he walked by, an old habit that would leave his fingerprints if anything happened to him. Next, he stayed slightly behind the driver's window for safety. Good evening, Mike said, shining his light briefly into the van. License and registration, please. The driver was a man around 40 with a thick beard and a baseball cap pulled low. He didn't look at Mike directly. What seems to be the problem, officer? The man asked in a low voice. You were having trouble staying in your lane. Have you had anything to drink tonight? Mike asked. No, sir, just tired. Been driving all day, the man said as he handed over his license. The name read Thomas Walker from a city 3 states away. Mike noticed the driver's hands were shaking. In the passenger seat sat another man who kept his face turned away. Both wore heavy jackets despite the car feeling warm inside. Where are you headed tonight? Mike asked, keeping his tone friendly but watching carefully. Just passing through. Going to see my sister in Greenville, the driver said. Mike knew there was no Greenville within 200 miles. This was a lie. And what's in the back of your van? Mike asked casually, trying to peek past the front seats. The back was sectioned off with a dark curtain. Just some furniture and boxes. Moving stuff, the driver said quickly. Too quickly. Then Mike heard it. A sound from the back of the van. It was small, like someone trying not to make noise, like someone trying hard to be quiet. Sir, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle, Mike said, his hand moving to rest on his gun. The driver and passenger exchanged a quick look that made Mike's skin crawl. Something was very wrong here. Is there a problem? The driver asked, not moving to get out. Please step out of the vehicle now, Mike repeated more firmly. Just then, there was another sound from the back of the van. This time it was clearer, a muffled cry that sounded human, very human, and very afraid. Mike's heart began to pound. In 10 years of police work, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now, every instinct was screaming that he had stumbled onto something dangerous. He reached for his radio with his left hand, keeping his right near his weapon. Dispatch, I'm going to need backup at my location, he said quietly. Something's not right here. Mike stood very still as he waited for the driver to step out. The night seemed to grow colder around him. Far away, he could hear the faint wail of sirens. Backup was coming, but it would take at least 10 minutes. Out here on River Road, he was on his own for now. I said step out of the vehicle, Mike repeated, his voice firm. He moved his hand to rest on his gun, not drawing it yet but ready. The driver opened his door slowly and stepped out. He was taller than Mike had thought, with wide shoulders under his jacket. His eyes darted around, looking at the trees, the road, anywhere but at Mike. "Stand over here, hands where I can see them," Mike said, pointing to a spot near the front of the van. "Your friend too. Tell him to get out." The driver called to the passenger, who opened his door with clear reluctance. This man was younger, maybe in his 20s, thin with nervous movements. Both men now stood near the front of the van while Mike kept a safe distance. "What are your names?" Mike asked. Even though he had seen the driver's license, he wanted to hear if the story changed. "I'm Tom," the driver said. "That's my cousin Jeff." Mike noticed they didn't give last names. The driver had said Thomas Walker on his license, but Mike wasn't sure if it was real. "And you said you're going to Greenville?" Mike asked, knowing there was no such place nearby. "Yeah, I mean Greenfield," the driver corrected himself quickly. Another lie. Just then, the sound from the back of the van came again. This time it was louder, like something hitting against the side of the van. It was followed by what sounded like crying. "What was that?" Mike asked sharply. "Probably just some stuff shifting around in the back," the younger man said too quickly. "We packed in a hurry." Mike didn't believe them. Not for a second. He needed to see inside that van, but he also needed to keep both men in view. The training from the police academy ran through his head. Never turn your back on a suspect. Never let them get between you and your vehicle. Keep your escape route clear. "I'm going to need to look in the back of your van," Mike said. It wasn't a question. The two men looked at each other. Something passed between them, a silent message that made Mike's hand tighten on his gun. "You got a warrant?" the driver asked, his voice suddenly harder. "I have probable cause," Mike replied. "I heard sounds that suggest someone might be in distress. That gives me the right to check." Mike could see the younger man was getting more nervous. His hands were shaking, and he kept looking at the woods beside the road, as if thinking about running. "Don't even think about it," Mike warned him. "Backup is already on the way." The driver tried a new approach. "Look, officer, I don't want any trouble. There's $500 in my wallet. Why don't you take it and we all forget about this? We're just passing through your town." Mike felt a cold anger rise in him. A bribe. Now he was even more certain something terrible was happening here. "Turn around and place your hands on the hood of my patrol car. Both of you." "Now," Mike ordered, drawing his gun. "You're being detained while I investigate." The driver looked like he might argue, but then did as he was told. The younger man followed, his face pale with fear. Mike reached for his radio again. "Dispatch, how far out is my backup? Situation is escalating." 5 minutes out, Officer Harris. Jenny's voice crackled back. 5 minutes felt like forever. Mike needed to check the van. The sounds were getting more frequent now, more desperate. With his gun still trained on the two men, Mike moved toward the back doors of the van. His heart pounded in his chest. In all his years as a cop, he had never felt such a strong sense that something was deeply wrong. He reached for the handle of the van's back door. That was when the younger man suddenly bolted, sprinting for the trees. "Stop! Police!" Mike shouted, but the man kept running. Mike had a split-second decision to make: chase the runner or stay with the driver and find out what was in the van. The muffled sounds from inside made his choice clear. He kept his gun on the driver while reaching for the van's door handle with his other hand. "Don't move," he warned the driver. Then he pulled open the door. The back door of the van swung open. Mike's flashlight beam cut through the darkness inside. What he saw made his whole body go cold. 3 children were huddled in the back of the van. 2 boys and a girl, none older than 10. Their hands were tied with rope, and they had tape across their mouths. Their eyes were wide with fear. When they saw Mike, the smallest boy started to cry behind his tape. Mike felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. In his 10 years as a police officer, he had never seen anything like this. His hand holding the gun began to shake slightly. "Don't move," he shouted at the driver, who was still standing against the patrol car. Mike's voice was sharper now, filled with anger. "Don't you dare move an inch." He quickly reached for his radio with his free hand. "Dispatch. I need all available units to my location now. I have 3 kidnapped children in the vehicle. Repeat, 3 children." All units responding. Jenny's voice came back, sounding alarmed. "ETA 3 minutes." Mike had to make another fast decision. He couldn't leave the children tied up, but he also couldn't turn his back on the driver. The younger man had already run away into the woods. Mike needed to keep the driver from doing the same. "Lie down on the ground," Mike ordered the driver. "Face down, hands behind your head, ankles crossed." The driver hesitated for a moment, then slowly got down on the ground. His face showed no emotion, which made Mike even angrier. How could anyone hurt children and feel nothing? Keeping his gun pointed at the driver, Mike moved closer to the van to check on the children. The little girl was shaking badly. Her brown hair was tangled, and her face was streaked with tears. The 2 boys were pressed against her, as if trying to protect her. "It's okay," Mike said softly to the children. "I'm a police officer. I'm going to help you. You're safe now." He wanted to remove the tape from their mouths and untie their hands right away, but he couldn't risk turning his back on the driver. The man was dangerous, and Mike was still alone on this dark road. In the distance, Mike finally heard the wonderful sound of sirens getting closer. Lights flashed through the trees as 2 patrol cars raced toward them. Officer Pete Wilson's car was first to arrive, followed by Officer Sarah Martinez. They jumped out with their guns drawn. "Wilson, secure the driver," Mike called out. "Martinez, we have a second suspect who ran into the woods heading east." As Wilson handcuffed the driver, Mike finally holstered his gun and turned to help the children. He carefully removed the tape from their mouths and untied their hands. The smallest boy immediately threw his arms around Mike's neck, sobbing. "It's okay, buddy," Mike said gently. "You're safe now." The girl spoke in a shaky voice. "They took us from the park. They said they were friends with our parents, but they weren't." Mike helped all 3 children out of the van. They were cold and scared, but didn't seem to be physically hurt. He wrapped his jacket around the little girl's shoulders. "What are your names?" he asked as he led them to his patrol car, where they would be safe and warm. "I'm Emma," the girl said. "That's my brother Tyler, and our neighbor Josh." "How long have you been in that van?" Mike asked. "Since yesterday," the older boy said. "They grabbed us from Jefferson Park in Millfield." Mike felt his blood run cold again. Millfield was over 200 miles away. These children had been reported missing yesterday afternoon. The whole state had been looking for them. Martinez returned from the woods. No sign of the second suspect yet. K9 units are on the way. More police cars were arriving now, along with an ambulance. The scene was quickly filling with flashing lights. Mike stayed with the children, letting them sit in his warm patrol car while paramedics were called over to check them. As the paramedics examined the children, Mike walked back to the van for a closer look. What he found inside made his stomach turn again. Inside the van, Mike found things that told a bigger, darker story. Under some blankets in the corner were 3 small backpacks with the children's names on them. Next to these were fake passports with the children's photos, but different names. Mike also found a map with several cities marked with red dots and a large amount of cash in a metal box. Mike called over Officer Wilson. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the map. "These marks are all big cities. I think these guys are part of something bigger. This wasn't just a random kidnapping." Wilson nodded grimly. "I'll call the FBI. This looks like human trafficking." The word made Mike feel sick. He had heard about such things happening in big cities, but never thought it would touch their small town. He looked back at the children sitting in his patrol car. They were so small, so innocent. He couldn't bear to think what might have happened to them if he hadn't pulled over that van. Captain Reynolds arrived at the scene, quickly taking charge. "Harris, "What do we have?" he asked Mike. Mike filled him in on everything. The traffic stop, the suspicious behavior, the discovery of the children, and what he found in the van. "Good work, Harris," Reynolds said, patting Mike's shoulder. "Your instincts saved those kids. We've got an alert out for the second suspect. Every cop in the county is looking for him." The paramedics reported that the children were scared but not seriously hurt. They were dehydrated and hungry, but had no major injuries. Still, they would need to go to the hospital for a full checkup. Mike went back to his patrol car to talk to the children before they were taken to the hospital. He wanted them to know they were truly safe now. "The doctors are going to take you to the hospital to make sure you're okay," Mike explained gently. "Officer Martinez will go with you. She's very nice. I need to stay here, but I'll come see you later. Is that okay?" The little girl, Emma, looked up at him with big eyes. "Are our parents coming?" "Yes," Mike said, smiling. "We've already called them. They're on their way right now. They've been looking for you since yesterday." The relief on the children's faces made Mike's heart both warm and ache at the same time. Emma reached out and held Mike's hand. "You saved us," she said simply. Mike had to blink back tears. "That's my job," he said. "I'm just glad I found you." As the ambulance took the children away, Mike joined the growing investigation at the scene. FBI agents had already been called and were on their way. The driver, now identified as Raymond Clark, had a long criminal record. He refused to talk, asking for a lawyer instead. K-9 units were searching the woods for the second suspect. The dogs had picked up his scent and were tracking him through the dense trees. Mike hoped they would find him soon. The thought of him escaping made Mike angry. "Harris, I need your full report," Captain Reynolds said. "Start from the beginning. What made you pull over the van in the first place?" Mike explained how the van had been weaving on the road, how the driver had seemed nervous, and how he had heard sounds from the back. "It was just instinct," Mike said. "Something felt wrong from the start." Reynolds nodded. "Those instincts are what make you a good cop. You didn't ignore them. And because of that, 3 children are going to see their families again." As Mike described everything in detail, FBI agents began searching the van more thoroughly. They took fingerprints, photographed everything, and collected all the evidence. One agent, a woman named Agent Chen, approached Mike. "Officer Harris, we need to talk," she said seriously. "This case is bigger than you know. The map you found matches locations of other child disappearances across 3 states. We believe this is part of a trafficking ring we've been tracking for months." Mike felt a cold chill run down his spine. This was far bigger than anything he had dealt with before. Just then, his radio crackled. "All units, we have the second suspect in custody. Repeat, second suspect in custody." The second suspect was brought to the scene in handcuffs. His clothes were muddy and torn from running through the woods. His face showed anger, not fear. 2 officers held him firmly as they walked him toward the police cars. "That's him," Mike said, recognizing the younger man from the passenger seat of the van. "His friend called him Jeff, but I doubt that's his real name." Agent Chen nodded. "We'll find out soon enough. Good work on the description you radioed in. It helped the K-9 team know who they were looking for." The FBI agents took over questioning both men. They were kept separate so they couldn't match their stories. Mike watched as the younger man was put into a different police car than Raymond Clark. "We should head to the hospital," Captain Reynolds told Mike. "The children will feel safer talking to you since you rescued them. We need to find out if they heard anything useful while they were in that van." Mike nodded. He wanted to see the children again anyway, to make sure they were truly okay. The image of their frightened faces was still fresh in his mind. At the hospital, the children had been given food and clean clothes. They looked better already, though still tired and scared. Emma's face lit up when she saw Mike enter the room. "Officer Mike," she called out. The 2 boys looked up from their hospital beds, smiling when they saw him. "Hey there," Mike said gently. "How are you all feeling?" "Better," Tyler said. "The doctors are nice. They gave us juice and sandwiches." "That's good," Mike said, sitting down on a chair between their beds. "I'm glad you're feeling better." A doctor pulled Captain Reynolds aside to give him an update while Mike talked with the children. They told him about being at the park when a man asked them to help find his lost dog. Once they were away from other people, a van pulled up, and they were forced inside. "They drove for a long time," Josh said. "They didn't talk much, but I heard them say something about a boat." Mike looked up, suddenly alert. "A boat? Do you remember anything else about that?" Emma nodded. "They said something about the shipment, and Tuesday night, and the harbor." Mike quickly wrote this down. Tuesday night was tomorrow. Whatever these men had planned, it was happening soon. He excused himself and went to tell Captain Reynolds and Agent Chen. "This matches our intelligence," Agent Chen said after hearing what the children had overheard. "We've been tracking a group that moves children through port cities. They were likely taking these kids to the harbor at Port Mason, about 50 miles from here. We need to set up an operation," Reynolds said. "If they're expecting a delivery of children tomorrow night, someone will show up even if these two don't make it." "My team is already on it," Agent Chen replied. "We'll use this opportunity to catch more of them." Just then, a nurse came to the room door. "The parents are here," she said. Mike followed Reynolds and Chen to the waiting area. 3 sets of parents stood there, looking worried and hopeful at the same time. When they were told their children were safe, the room filled with tears and thanks. "Can we see them?" Emma's mother asked, her voice shaking. "Of course," the nurse said. "Follow me." Mike watched as the parents were led to their children. The sound of happy cries reached him down the hall. After everything he had seen today, this moment made it all worthwhile. Captain Reynolds put a hand on Mike's shoulder. "You did good work today, Harris. Real good work." Mike nodded, feeling both proud and tired. "What happens now?" "Now," Agent Chen said, "we use what we've learned to stop this from happening to any more children. Your traffic stop might have just helped us break open a major trafficking ring." Mike looked at his watch. It was nearly midnight. His shift had ended hours ago. His dinner at home would be cold, and Sarah would be worried. But 3 children were safe, 2 criminals were in custody, and a bigger operation was about to be stopped. As he walked toward his patrol car, Mike's phone rang. It was Sarah. "Mike, are you okay? I saw on the news about the kidnapped children. They said a local officer found them." Mike drove home slowly, his mind still full of everything that had happened. Sarah was waiting at the door when he arrived. She hugged him tightly as soon as he stepped inside. "I was so worried," she said. "The news said you were the officer who found those children." "It was just luck," Mike said, sinking into a chair at the kitchen table. "If that van hadn't been weaving on the road, I might have driven right past them." Sarah put a plate of food in front of him. Even though it was past midnight, she had kept his dinner warm. As Mike ate, he told her everything that had happened. He left out some of the scarier details, but Sarah could see in his face how much the case had affected him. "Those poor children," she said softly. "What would have happened to them if you hadn't stopped that van?" Mike shook his head. He didn't want to think about it. "I'm just glad they're safe now." Sleep came slowly that night. Mike kept seeing the children's faces in his mind. He also thought of the map in the van with all those red dots. How many other children had been taken? How many were still missing? The next morning, Mike was called into the station early. Captain Reynolds wanted him to join the meeting with the FBI team. When Mike arrived, the conference room was already full of officers and agents. "Officer Harris," Agent Chen said, nodding to him. "We've got a lot to talk about. The 2 men we arrested yesterday have started talking. They gave us some valuable information." Mike took a seat at the table. A large map was spread out, similar to the one from the van, but with more details. Agent Chen pointed to several locations. "These are the cities where children have gone missing in the past 6 months," she explained. We believe this group has taken at least 20 children. Mike felt sick at the number. Where are they now? He asked. Agent Chen's face was grim. Some have been found. Others are still missing. We think some were already sent overseas. Captain Reynolds stepped forward. Thanks to what the children overheard, we now know about the operation at Port Mason Harbor. It's happening tonight. We're setting up a sting operation, Agent Chen continued. We need officers who can blend in at the harbor. Officer Harris, we'd like you to be part of this. Mike nodded without hesitation. Of course. I want to help catch these people. The meeting continued with plans for the operation. Mike would be posing as a dock worker, along with several other officers. FBI agents would be watching from hidden positions. The goal was to catch whoever came to pick up what they thought would be the 3 children from the van. After the meeting, Mike went to visit the children one more time before they went home with their parents. They were in much better spirits now, smiling and talking excitedly about going home. Officer Mike. Emma called when she saw him. She ran to him and gave him a hug. My mom says you're a hero. Mike smiled, kneeling down to her level. I'm just glad you're all safe. Are you feeling better today? The children nodded. Josh showed Mike a police badge sticker one of the nurses had given him. I'm going to be a police officer when I grow up, he announced proudly. Just like you. Mike felt a lump in his throat. You'll be a great police officer, he told Josh. He stayed with them for a little while, listening to their chatter about going home, and seeing their pets and sleeping in their own beds again. These simple things that most people took for granted now seemed like precious gifts to these children. As Mike left the hospital, his phone rang again. It was Agent Chen. We've got movement, she said without greeting. One of the men started talking more. He gave us names and locations. We're moving up the operation. Can you be at the station in 20 minutes? I'm on my way, Mike replied, already heading to his car. He knew this case was far from over. But for now, at least 3 children were safe. And if everything went well tonight, many more might be saved too. The station was busy when Mike arrived. Officers moved quickly, putting on vests and checking equipment. This was no longer just a local police matter. It had become a major operation with the FBI in charge. Harris, over here, Captain Reynolds called. Mike went to a side room where several officers were changing into plain clothes. A man handed Mike some old work clothes, worn jeans, a faded blue shirt, and a dirty jacket. Put these on, Agent Chen said. You'll be worker number 3. You're supposed to be moving boxes near the meeting point. Mike changed quickly. Agent Garcia, another FBI officer, helped him put on a small hidden microphone. It was taped to his chest, under his shirt where no one could see it. We'll hear everything you hear, Garcia explained. If you say the code word shipment, we'll know you need immediate help. Mike nodded, trying to stay calm. He had never been part of such a big operation before. Captain Reynolds must have seen his nervousness. You'll do fine, Harris, Reynolds said. Just remember your training. They drove to the harbor in unmarked vans. It was almost sunset now, and the sky was turning dark orange. The harbor was mostly empty. A few real workers were finishing for the day, but they didn't pay attention to the new people arriving. Mike was given a clipboard and told to walk around the storage area, looking at boxes and writing things down. 2 other undercover officers worked nearby, moving crates from one stack to another. To anyone watching, they would look like normal evening shift workers. Remember, Agent Chen said through the small earpiece Mike was wearing, our target is a man named Victor Krause. He's tall with gray hair. He will have at least 2 men with him. Mike walked slowly around the area, checking his clipboard from time to time. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to look calm. The sun went down, and lights came on around the harbor. It got quieter as the real workers left for the day. At exactly 8 o'clock, a black SUV drove slowly into the harbor area. It parked near one of the warehouses, and 3 men got out. One was tall with gray hair, Victor Krause. The other two were younger and looked strong. All three were dressed in expensive clothes that seemed out of place at the harbor. "Target is here," Mike heard someone say through his earpiece. "Everyone stay in position." Mike pretended to check some boxes near the warehouse. He could hear the men talking as they approached. "Where's the delivery?" the gray-haired man asked, looking around. Raymond said it would be here at 8. "Maybe they're running late," one of the younger men said. "I don't like it," Cross replied. "Something feels off." Mike's heart jumped. Did they suspect something? He kept his head down, writing on his clipboard. One of the men looked at him. "You, worker, have you seen a black van come through here tonight?" Mike turned slowly, trying to look bored. "No vans tonight, just the regular trucks earlier." The gray-haired man frowned. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. After a moment, he cursed. No answer from Raymond or Jeff. This isn't right. He turned to his men. "Something's wrong. We're leaving. Now," came Agent Chen's voice in Mike's ear. "Move in now." Suddenly, FBI agents appeared from behind crates and vehicles, guns drawn. "FBI, don't move. Hands in the air." The three men froze for a second. Then the two younger ones reached for weapons inside their jackets. Mike dropped his clipboard and pulled his hidden gun from under his work jacket. "Police, don't do it," he shouted. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. Mike could see the men deciding whether to fight or surrender. The younger men looked at Cross, waiting for his signal. Cross slowly raised his hands. "Do as they say," he told his men. The other two reluctantly put their hands up. Agents rushed forward to handcuff them. Mike kept his gun trained on them until they were secured. "Good work, everyone," Agent Chen said, walking up to the arrested men. She looked at Cross. "Victor Cross, you're under arrest for human trafficking and kidnapping." Mike lowered his gun, feeling relief wash over him. It had worked. They had caught the man in charge. Back at the police station, the three men were put in separate rooms for questioning. Mike watched through a window as Agent Chen talked to Cross. The man sat with perfect posture, his face showing no emotion. "He's not talking much," Captain Reynolds said, standing next to Mike. "But his phones and computers will tell us plenty. The FBI tech team is working on them now." Mike nodded. "What about the other locations on the map? The other children?" "Teams are moving in on 5 different locations tonight," Reynolds explained. "This is bigger than we thought. Cross is connected to powerful people." Mike felt both proud and overwhelmed. His simple traffic stop had started something huge. Who would have thought that pulling over a weaving van would lead to all this? Agent Garcia rushed into the room, holding a laptop. "We've got something," she said excitedly. "Cross's phone had an app with locations. We think they're where other children are being held." Everyone gathered around the laptop. On the screen was a map showing several houses in different cities. One of them was only 20 miles away. "We need to move fast," Agent Chen said, entering the room. Cross finally gave us one piece of information. He said some of the children are being moved tonight. Within minutes, a new operation was planned. Mike would go with one team to the nearby location. 3 children might be there, according to the information from Cross's phone. "Be careful," Reynolds told Mike as they prepared to leave. "These people are dangerous. They have a lot to lose." The house was in a quiet neighborhood. It looked normal from outside. A small blue house with trimmed grass and flowers by the door. No one would guess what might be happening inside. The team approached quietly. Some officers went to the back of the house, while Mike and Agent Chen went to the front door with 4 other officers. They all wore bulletproof vests and had their guns ready. Agent Chen nodded to Mike. It was time. An officer used a battering ram to break open the door. "FBI, police, everyone on the ground," they shouted as they rushed inside. A woman screamed in the living room. A man tried to run for the back door, but was caught by the officers waiting there. Mike followed Agent Chen down a hallway, checking each room. The last door was locked. "Police, open up," Chen called. When no one answered, they broke down the door. Inside, Mike saw 3 small beds. 3 young girls, all around 8 years old, huddled together in the corner. They looked terrified. "It's okay," Mike said softly, putting his gun away. "We're police officers. We're here to help you." One of the girls started crying. "I want my mommy," she sobbed. Mike knelt down to their level. "We're going to take you to your parents. You're safe now." The children were wrapped in blankets and carried out to waiting ambulances. Mike helped one little girl with blonde hair who reminded him of Emma. She held onto his hand tightly. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily," she whispered. "Are the bad people gone?" "Yes," Mike said. "The bad people can't hurt you anymore." As paramedics checked the children, Mike learned they had been missing for 2 weeks. They were from different states, just like Emma, Tyler, and Josh. Their parents had been searching desperately for them. Mike watched as the man and woman from the house were put into police cars. They refused to look at anyone. Mike wondered how people could do such terrible things to innocent children. His phone rang. It was Agent Chen, who had gone with another team to a different location. "We found 4 more children," she said, her voice tired but happy. "All alive. All going to be okay." Mike smiled. That made 10 children saved in just 2 days. There were still more out there, but they were making progress. When he looked back at the house, he saw Lily watching him from the ambulance. She gave him a small wave. Mike waved back, feeling the warmth in his chest despite the cold night air. 3 months passed. Mike sat at his desk, looking at the picture frame that now held a newspaper article. The headline read, "Local Officers Traffic Stop Breaks International Trafficking Ring." Next to the article was a thank you card made by Emma, Tyler, and Josh. Their colorful drawing showed Mike in his police uniform with a big smile. The case had grown far beyond what anyone expected. 17 children in total had been rescued from 6 different locations. Cross and 12 other people were arrested and charged with kidnapping and human trafficking. The FBI discovered that the ring had connections in 3 countries. Mike's phone rang. It was Sarah. "Don't forget we need to be at the community center by 6, she reminded him. "The ceremony starts at 6:30. "I'll be there," Mike promised. He looked at the clock. His shift ended in an hour, giving him plenty of time. When evening came, Mike and Sarah walked into the packed community center. Many people smiled and nodded at Mike as he passed. Some patted him on the back or shook his hand. His story had been on the news for weeks, and everyone in town knew what he had done. In the front row sat Emma, Tyler, and Josh with their families. When they saw Mike, they waved excitedly. Next to them was Lily and several other children who had been rescued. All the children looked happy and healthy now, though Mike knew they still had nightmares sometimes. Their parents had started a support group to help the children heal. The mayor stepped up to the podium and asked for quiet. "We are here tonight to honor one of our own," she said. "Officer Michael Harris showed us what it means to be truly dedicated to protecting our community." Mike listened as the mayor told the story of that night 3 months ago. She described how his simple traffic stop had saved 17 children and stopped an international trafficking ring. Mike felt a little embarrassed by all the attention, but Sarah squeezed his hand proudly. "And so," the mayor continued, "it is my honor to present Officer Harris with the Medal of Valor, the highest award our department can give." The room filled with applause as Mike walked to the stage. As the mayor placed the medal around his neck, he saw Emma and the other children clapping and cheering the loudest. "Would you like to say a few words?" the mayor asked. Mike stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you," he said simply, "but I was just doing my job. The real heroes are these children, who were so brave during a terrible time." He looked at the children in the front row. "And I want to say thank you to all the officers and agents who worked on this case. This wasn't just my work. It was all of us together." After the ceremony, the children came up to Mike. Emma gave him a big hug. Josh showed him a real police badge. Officer Wilson made me a junior deputy, Josh said proudly. I still want to be a police officer like you when I grow up. Lily handed Mike a drawing she had made. It showed him helping the children out of the van and the house. My doctor said drawing helps me feel better, she explained. I drew you saving us. Mike knelt down to be at eye level with the children. How are you all doing? He asked gently. Better, Emma said. I still get scared sometimes, but my mom says that's normal. It will get better. Tyler nodded. We're going to be okay. As the children went back to their parents, Captain Reynolds approached Mike. The FBI called today, he said. The last 2 locations were raided last night. 5 more children are safe. Mike smiled. 22 children saved in total, all because he had noticed a van weaving on River Road. Later that night, as Mike drove home with Sarah, he passed the spot where he had pulled over the black van. It was just a normal stretch of road now. Nothing marked the place where everything had changed. But Mike would always remember it. He would remember that sometimes the most important moments come when you least expect them. Sometimes, doing your job with care and attention can change lives forever. And he would always remember the faces of the children who were going home, because he had stopped a black van on a quiet night.